Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to wrap up our look at Joss Whedon and John Cassady's run on Astonishing X-Men. We're going to be looking at numbers 19 through 24, plus the giant-size Astonishing X-Men #1 issue, which wraps up the whole Joss Whedon run. There's a lot of fun stuff in here, so let's get started. Here's number 19, and this is kind of fun. It's got this horizontal cover, widescreen, I guess they used to call it. Pretty fun, the way they're all coming at us in 3D. So I gotta say, in these later issues, there are some weird faces that John Cassady does. It seems like the first 6 to 12 issues, everything was flawless. But I don't know, he must be getting tired. He's doing the pencils and inks for a comic for, over 24 months straight. Not many mainstream artists do that. Luckily, and of course, we have Laura Martin's beautiful colors once again, too. So we start off on Break World. We see it's a funeral for an infant. And they put the dead baby, on a barge, a funeral barge. It floats off. And it blows up. And we find out that this is Agon. Now, Agon is a rebel leader on Breakworld. She doesn't like the way Breakworld society works. In fact, this funeral is kind of against the law. There's such a merciless, brutal society that even funerals, like mourning the dead, that's seen as weak and, decadent almost. So she wants to change that. Who wouldn't? That sounds pretty harsh. So there's mention of a lot more casualties. And apparently there's this kind of a civil war going on. But it's not really a civil war. In Breakworld, whenever there's a secession of power, it basically is decided by who's ever strongest. There's no electoral college on Breakworld. They don't vote. It's just whoever wants to take over, it becomes a big battle, and if he's stronger, he wins, and everyone accepts that. Here's another example of their society. This is the only hospital, this makeshift hospital, is the only one on Breakworld. They think hospitals are wrong. They figure if you're sick or you've fallen due to an injury, that's your problem. They're not going to waste time helping you get better. So it's a very Spartan type society. So now we see the Sword spaceship, the Peak, flying through space. And this is the name of the last story arc, Unstoppable. Right where we left off, guys, we see the X-Men have been transported to this ship right in the middle of their battle with Ord from Breakworld and Danger, the robot that was once Danger Room. As soon as they pop up, all the Sword agents are saying, stand down, cease your hostilities. So, of course, they're not listening. And Agent Brand, the head of Sword, has got to activate this device, which basically pulls them to the ground and pacifies them. And Brand explains what's going on. It turns out Breakworld has got this giant missile aimed straight at Earth. And, basically, she lets them know we've got to put aside our little squabbles. This is the main objective. And the X-Men agree. We see Ord here still wants to kill Colossus. Says, why don't we just get it over with right now? He's the one who's going to destroy Breakworld, as the prophecy says. But Branda's kind of changed her tune. She's now like, no, Colossus is an asset. You're a prisoner. Not gonna do it. So now we're back on Breakworld. This is the new leader who has ascended to power, through bloodshed. Power Lord Krun. I don't know if it's Kroon. I think it's Krun. And he's a typical break world leader, just completely ruthless. He gets a hologram message from Ord. I guess Ord broke away from his sword captors for a second, got to a communications device, just so he could tell Krun that Colossus is on board the spaceship and it's headed toward your way. And then the sword guys zap him. But mission accomplished. Now Krun knows. Krun reroutes the brute ships, that's what they call their battleships, to intercept the ship that the X-Men are on. I wish John Cassady did more science fiction. He depicts this sci-fi landscape really well. Amazing amount of detail. But I like the alien architecture he draws, and it's pretty great looking. I mean, almost everything he draws is pretty great looking, so. So the empath from Sword, this alien creature, he checks Emma's head and to make sure that there's no more Cassandra Nova in it. So it looks like Emma is cured now. And she, there's no more Cassandra Nova making her do evil things. Kitty and Peter have a pretty intense heart-to-heart. Kitty, who just went through that ordeal, that mental ordeal that Emma put her through. Well, Cassandra Nova did, really. She's getting over that. For 3 years, she believed that she had a child that was then taken from her. It was all in her head, of course, but it feels real. That's how Emma's mental projections work. So it looks like things are stalling for Kitty and Peter. Now Brand is leading this strategy session, and they're all planning how they're going to attack Breakworld. It's kind of interesting because they're basically saying, well, if they unleash the missile, I guess our plan B will be to actually fulfill their prophecy and have Colossus destroy the world. They figured out the way, they know how to do it. There's a certain energy source under the Power Lord's, I guess, castle or whatever. And it leads right to the Earth's core, to Breakworld's core. And Colossus is the only one, due to his metal form, who could go into this, hot magma to activate it. So it looks like, this prophecy could be true. Of all the X-Men, he's the only one who could do it, could destroy Breakworld. Not that he wants to. So Brand figures the best way is to head right into the mouth of the lion and get to Breakworld before they can be intercepted. And they're not going to have that much luck, though. Because due to Ord's warning, the Breakworld brute ships show up and just throw tons of explosives at the Sword ship, the Peak. And if you didn't know this was an issue of the X-Men, you'd think they were done for. But of course they're not done for. It's the X-Men. They're not going to die that easily. Next we have number 20. This is a variant edition. Pretty nice cover by John Cassady of the Beast. I guess this version, part of Breakworld that they're flying in, is called Splinter. And they basically know their ship is, not going to last long. So they have this great little shuttle inside that kind of breaks out of the ship. And Brand says how it's the prettiest ship in the fleet. And then Beast says, it's a pity we're not on it then. So it's a little trick. She put a bunch of Sword agents on that shuttle and sent them to Breakworld. And so, of course, the main break world armada is going to follow that. They just think that this is a ship that's, on its last legs. The X-Men stay inside the Splinter. And then Brand quickly briefs everyone on what they're going to do as soon as they land. And I guess they're looking for this giant tomb, the Palace of the Corpse. That has something to do with the prophecy about Colossus. So she issues a command, flotsam and jetsam, and the ship splits into two, each half hurtling towards Breakworld. And look at the way Cassady draws the turbulence. Everything's all shaky. It really captures that. This does not look very comfortable. The Breakworld Armada doesn't fire on them. They figure, let's let them land. If there's survivors, we can get information. Because it's not much of a threat. Basically, it's flotsam and jetsam. Excuse me, guys. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to edit videos, and I can't edit stuff like that out. So I understand if you want to keep listening to me sniffle and sneeze and cough. I like this, how one half of the ship, with half the X-Men, it's pretty uncomfortable. It's turbulent. So Colossus is like, oh, I worry about the others. And then we see them, and they're all drinking tea, because Emma, instead of going through this horrible discomfort, she basically all mentally projected them into this beautiful, placid setting. So they're not even experiencing it. And really, the way they show off Emma's mental powers are really interesting in this comic. So of course, these landings are very tricky. Basically, they're in a bunch of flaming wreckage trying to land. So the next few pages, we see all the ways in which they survive the fall. Colossus protects Kitty with his body. It seems like White Queen and Scott and Beast and Brand, they land pretty safely, though. And they find the tomb. Of course, Krun, his main objective is finding Colossus. Look at poor Ord here. Just because he failed. He was so kick-ass. He beat the shit out of the X-Men. And they're treating him like a traitor. I mean, he's chained up. I don't like this Breakworld society at all. I wouldn't last a day. It's interesting. Ord is just saying, yes, I failed. I request only that my death be painful in public. So this whole society, they don't even understand the idea of treachery. They're just purely just savage. And it's all about what's for the good of Breakworld. That's all that matters. We see the sword agents that were in that other ship. They're already captured by the Breakworldians. Here's some of that alien stuff going on, this alien flora. So now basically everyone's safely on Breakworld. Poor Wolverine, though. He's got to rest for half an hour and rebuild his nose. He's completely a French fry. Yeah, I guess he had a shield some of the people on his ship, and just totally he's just burnt to a crisp. He has an interesting talk with Hasuka, and he basically says, "You're an X-Men." She says, "I'm just a student. I shouldn't be here. I have a test tomorrow." He's like, "Whatever. You're an X-Men now." And they even talk about her superhero name. I guess she's going to be called Armor. And of course, there's some good witty banter between Wolverine and her. They've definitely got a good chemistry, these two. I like their kind of friendship. So Kitty and Colossus are fighting their way through this world. And meanwhile, back at the tomb, half the X-Men and Brand, they see this. Look at this. I love this art here. This is like fulfilling the prophecy, There's Colossus destroying the world. Interesting art style there. Here's another variant cover. Beautifully drawn. And now Wolverine and Asuka show up on these rad light cycle looking things. And they show up at the tomb. Of course, everyone's just like, oh, this is so weird. Like, it turns out, though, we're finding some discrepancies. This tomb isn't as old as everyone thinks. They do some readings on it. So they're like, what the hell? Kitty and Colossus are still fighting their way through the break world soldiers. Some really fun action stuff going on here. And then one of the break worldians comes out of nowhere and says, come with us. But it's not a threat. They're like, no, really, we want you to come with us. So now Danger is being questioned by Krun, Power Lord Krun. And they make a deal. She's going to help him take out the X-Men. Because remember, she knows all their weaknesses. We see Scott and Emma flying this little craft. They're attacked by break world ships. And now we're back to Colossus and Kitty. And so they're meeting Argon. I already forgot how to say her name. This is the rebel leader. I love this sculpture here. Yeah, John Cassady should really draw a sci-fi comic. So, basically, Argon just tells them her plan for her planet. She has no agenda. She has no plan for a coup. She just wants to hopefully change the way her planet operates. Meanwhile, Beast and Brand are caught in this snowstorm, which actually the Krun attacked them with. I guess they use weather on this planet as a weapon. And finally, we get Kitty and Peter get to be romantic again. It's a great panel. Kitty looks great there. There's something about that relationship that's just like, I know most of it's nostalgia, but it's really just like, you really want them to succeed as a couple, you know? I'm curious if you never read the X-Men as a kid, especially like the glory years, Byrne, Claremont. I wonder, excuse me, I wonder if these would be as good. I'm curious. Feel free to comment me below, even if it's negative. In fact, I'd kind of be curious to see, am I just nostalgically foolish for these? But I think these are pretty fun. I gotta say, though, those first 6 issues were way better than everything preceding after them. I love this insane ship that Danger creates for herself. Really bizarre design. And this is weird. So the issue ends. Danger confronts Emma. Scott's already out for the count. And she just says, "Do me one favor, Danger. Kill me. Please do try to make it quick." And I like how Danger has this confused look on her face, even though she's a robot. She shouldn't have the ability to look confused. Here's number 22. Pretty evocative cover. So Krun and his main lieutenant are planning their strategy against the X-Men. And now we're back to Emma and Danger. And she keeps telling her, she's like, "Kill me." And she can't do it. Danger can't kill her. Emma knew this. And she says, "Do you want to know why you haven't killed me yet? Because you can't. You were programmed to kill, and you hate mutants above all things. But every chance you had to kill us, you didn't take it. Your initial programming to not kill the X-Men still is within you. You can't deny it." Some pretty interesting mental strategy. She tells her that that's why she teamed up with that weird Sentinel. Basically, she's trying to get someone to kill the X-Men because she can't. She calls her an open BlackBerry. You never got over your parent programming. If it's any consolation, nobody ever does. That's a great line. Because we're just like her. We never get over our parent programming. So now we see Kitty and Peter very happy. And now Beast has survived that snowstorm. And you know, on Break World, they don't care how much collateral damage there is. So just to try to kill Beast and Brand, that snowstorm killed like thousands of people. Break World citizens. They didn't care. Stupid ads. So basically now, Danger is on the X-Men side. She's going to help them. And Krun basically realizes that Agon's rebellion is more dangerous than 100 prophecies. So he's sending ships to take her out. And this is a really interesting scene. Kitty's reunited with Lockheed, and Brand admits to her. She says, "Lockheed's been working for us. He's the mole that they've mentioned over the past 24 issues. It's been Lockheed this whole time." And I was actually kind of surprised. And she basically explains to the X-Men, is like, you guys treat Lockheed like he's a pet. Do you know that he speaks more languages than Professor Xavier? He's not some little chihuahua. So I guess Sword agreed to help Lockheed with some homeworld issues. So I'm sure we'll find out about that in a later issue. God, these colors, once again, so rich and nice. So now we're heading to that moon that's has the giant missile in it. As they get closer, they realize it's not a moon. It's like the Death Star. It's a completely artificial planetoid just to house this giant missile. It's a missile 10 miles long that'll just split the Earth in two. So then the Breakworld ships are heading their way, and Scott agrees to sacrifice himself to get on the ship and fly a diversionary path. And he pretty much, he knows he's going to die, and everyone else does. And they try to argue with him, but he's like, no, this is the only way. But there is something to be said. It's not as sacrificial as you'd think, because he's hoping that, even if they kill him, that they'll bring him back to life. Because on Breakworld, just like Peter, they have the ability to bring people back to life. So that's what Scott's hoping for. He's like, yeah, I might have to die, but I'm kind of valuable to them. They're going to want to, get some information out of me. And they fire rays or rockets at Scott's ship. Scott is floating in space, and he's dead. And as he dies, he sees young Jean Grey, the day he first met her, and Charles Xavier. And we just see Scott Summers dead. No joke. But of course, Breakworld has this technology. It's no surprise. I gotta say, man, this is such a cool cover. This is like totally appeals to my 14-year-old inner child. So now we see a gun. I keep saying her name wrong, I think, but whatever. Let's call her a gun for now. The rebellion leader. She's talking to her second in command. So the X-Men are on this planetoid and they're all mourning Scott, but they, not too much. They got a job to do. And so Scott gambled correctly. They bring him back to life. And look at this coloring here, this sickly, jaundiced color for Scott because he was dead. So basically they're like, tell us about Leviathan. Because, the X-Men have been talking about the secret weapon they have. And Krun knows about it. So he's torturing Scott for this information. That's why he was valuable enough to bring back to life. Meanwhile, we cut back to the X-Men. They're having a wicked battle with some of these Breakworld soldiers. There's some great fight choreography here. Wolverine jumping over these guys, stabbing them in the back with his claws. And there's armor. I fucking love armor. Or Hasuke, I should say. Even though I think I'm saying her name wrong. Hakusei? And so Beast and Brand are looking into this whole prophecy thing and the discrepancies in the age of that mural or that tomb. We'll come back to that in a second. It's not looking good for the X-Men. Wolverine and Armor are now captured. Kitty and Peter return to Argon, the rebel leader. Emma's in contact with Scott while he's being tortured. Krun knows it. And so now Peter and Kitty and Agon, the rebel leader, are heading that way. And now we find out the whole power play here. Using Emma's powers of mental manipulation and communication, they totally tricked Krun. They knew that the ship that they were in had surveillance, had cameras, and they could listen to what they were saying. So we see this scene from earlier, and here's all the dialogue, but then it's Emma's mental voice. They were having a mental conversation over it. So they totally tricked. There's no Leviathan at all. This was all a trick, and Krun fell for it. And Krun says, "What other lies have you told?" And Scott gives him that look. And then all of a sudden, Scott's powers are back. I don't know if, I don't quite understand why, if maybe Emma unlocked his brain. But he just goes all out. Look at this. It's like a beacon to the sky. That's some great art. So they kind of take that as the signal to attack. It's kind of weird. Scott says, "To me, my X-Men." Let's finish this. This is an interesting little feature. They have Fury's files and all these little facts about the X-Men. Kind of trivia and stuff. And, I don't know. I think that we're getting fully on into the Joe Cassady years here. And now we got number 24. Man, Scott Summers looks pretty pissed off there. Man, just love Cassady's art. So I'm pretty sure Krun's dead now. I'm pretty sure Scott's beam not only destroyed him, but destroyed the whole building and about 100 other guys. So they still got to stop that missile, though. That's on that artificial moon. So here's that thing under the throne room. Basically, if Colossus chose to, he could destroy their whole world. Peter says, "It makes no sense to put your world at risk with such a fragile, unstable energy source." And Argon says, "We prize efficiency over safety. Is it very different on Earth?" And it's like, the obvious answer is no. We'd probably do the same thing if we had the technology. Oh, there's Krun. I guess he's not dead. They've got him tied up or chained up. I guess the missile is on some kind of timer, so there's nothing they can do to stop it. Meanwhile, Ord has broken free. he still wants to kill all the Earthlings, but more than anyone, Colossus. He kills some of the sword guys brutally. I gotta say, what definitely divides us from a lot of superhero comics I've read over the past 30 years, I haven't read many, but it's still like really just witty banter. Like, Joss Whedon is so good at that, you know? I'm pretty sure that's why I like the first Avengers movie more than almost all the other Marvel movies. Even when the plot's not necessarily the most exciting, it's just, you always expect a few good one-liners and zingers, you know? This kind of looks like Frank Quitely came back to draw that panel. So once again, Ord's trying to kick the X-Men's ass and doing a pretty good job of it. Massive battle between the Earth forces of Sword and the Breakworld Defenders. And they're all trying to get to that missile. So this is interesting. The whole time, you know, the X-Men have not trusted Agent Brand, and have even talked about, God, we gotta take her out, man. But she jumps in front of this laser beam and saves the Beast's life. So definitely an interesting character turn for her character. So now Peter is at that core, that energy core thing. And again, in a little heat suit, we find out that again, this was all of her scheming. She's the one who made the prophecy about Colossus, hoping that it would come true, and we'll find out in a second why. Kitty is going into that missile. She's going to try to phase out the engineering on it with her power. And when she gets inside, she realizes the whole thing is completely empty. It's not a missile. It's basically a giant bullet. They're just going to shoot it towards Earth. And it has no wires in it. It has no, homing system or anything. It's just basically a giant blade. So Kitty's stuck inside of it. The Breakworld metal, well, actually everything on Breakworld, it's hard for Kitty to phase through. It makes her feel bad. It's different than anything on Earth. So it looks like she's kind of trapped inside. And it takes off. It's heading to Earth to destroy Earth. So now we have the very last issue. The giant size Astonishing X-Men #1. This is a pretty nice wraparound cover. Featuring characters that aren't even in here. Actually, no, I'm sorry, they appear later. But it's a really fun cover, except for this really badly drawn Scott. Where all of a sudden, he has this huge pot belly. I don't know, I think it was the perspective he got wrong. But definitely, I love these kind of covers, with all the heroes. So this kind of reminds me of like that great Jim Starlin Thanos story, where we start off with Spider-Man in New York City. We've had this totally cosmic story. But this is how it starts. Nightcrawler, Iceman, and Storm show up. He draws Spider-Man kind of very interestingly. I don't know how to describe it, but I think even when he's small, he draws all the webbing. I realize that most artists fudge that. When Spider-Man's tiny, it's just red, and the spider. But it gives it a very Ditko-like effect. So we see that giant sentinel that we saw, 7 issues ago or whatever. And the X-Men and Spider-Man are going to use that, and others, as their transport to Breakworld. I think there might have been some crossovers that I missed, because it does seem like this just jumps into the story, and all of a sudden these Earth heroes know about what's going on Breakworld and that they have to help, which we haven't read about in those last 6 issues. So I don't know if there's maybe like a crossovers for this Breakworld saga. I don't know. But it's not much to take in, whatever. Okay, somebody told them. And so now we find out. It turns out a gun. I think I'm screwing up her name. I can't remember. It turns out this was all her plan. She basically realized that her people can't change. They are this merciless, compassionless group of aliens. So she just wants to destroy the whole world and kill everyone. She just hates the way they are, and she knows they can't change. Pretty interesting character turn there. This one Breakworld guy's attacking Agent Brand, and I don't know if they've ever established this, but it turns out she has like burning hands. She burns this guy's face off. Oh, that crazy Doctor Strange. That looks weird. God, some of these panels just so well drawn. It's kind of a weird Reed Richards. So they're trying to intercept the rocket, but Reed has this plan that he's going to basically make a little portal in the negative zone, into the negative zone, and hopefully it's a 1 in a million shot. The rocket will go right in and avoid Earth. Now we see Colossus fighting a gun. And she basically grabs Colossus, overpowers him, and says, "I'll use your own arms to activate this thing." This is a crazy character turn. I didn't see this coming at all. So it turns out that Brand has this total crush on Beast this whole time. She says, "I'm so hot for you right now, I could frickin' pass out." Back to the Colossus, a gunfight. And then Ord comes out of nowhere. I'm pretty sure that's Ord. He's basically on fire. And he grabs a gun. And he's like, "I love my people. I will save them." And so as Ord basically burns to a piece of charcoal, Colossus says, "You have saved the world." So I like this, how you realize that, and to Ord's people, he's a hero. He's been a total villain the whole time to us, from our perspective. But he really does love his planet and will do anything to protect it. It's a weird thing there. So the negative zone portal pops up with some groovy coloring going on. And it looks like it totally works. And Johnny says, "We saved the world, Reed. Take a moment to enjoy it." This is such a weird sequence here, guys. Watch this. So Reed, his face is frozen, and we see drool coming out of his mouth. And as the camera pulls back, we see all the heroes on the ship are standing there like dummies with drool coming out of their mouths, just like, we saved the world. So the ship is, the bullet is still heading towards Earth. I'm not sure, I think I missed something, guys, or I forgot something. I'm not sure why, who's causing this. Who's causing all these guys to have this mental kind of breakdown. So we see all the superheroes in their head, even though they're all standing there like zombies, they're all fantasizing about how they stopped this bullet. But for some reason, Spider-Man realizes, wait a second, this is not kosher. This is not real. Emma is in mental contact with Kitty, and she's basically saying, Kitty, you gotta, phase. And she's like, I can't. Like, I guess phasing through this break world material is very dilapidating to her. And it almost looks like she's just defeated and she's just gonna die. So Spider-Man punches Aurora to wake her up. And he basically tells her what's going on. He says, yeah, we all think we saved the world. So they basically torture Krun, Power Lord Krun, to tell them the weakness of the bullet missile. Some more interesting colors going on here. So they try to send that Sentinel to intercept the missile, hoping it'll veer it off course. And I guess the Sentinel really has attained some kind of sentience and some compassion, basically. It says, I am responsible for the deaths of millions. I have since been given life and an understanding of what my life means. I hope that I am helpful. And it looks like Kitty still can't do it. And that Sentinel basically sacrifices itself for nothing. It doesn't stop the trajectory of the missile. It's still heading towards Earth. And it's right in Earth's atmosphere. It's about to cleave Earth in half. And then, through an amazing force of will, this is pretty impressive. Look at this. Kitty, using her phasing powers, phases the whole thing right through Earth. Her eyes are rolling back in her head. Everyone's watching, just like, because she's got to sustain it until it gets all the way through Earth. And so the crisis has been averted, but Kitty is still on that thing. And they have to figure out a way to get Kitty out, and I guess that's probably going to be the next story arc. We see another fun character moment between Logan and Armor. And more interesting stuff between Brand and Beast. And they're basically like, yeah, they're going to be an itemite. Sounds like. And then after all this time, I guess I still don't understand quite why Scott doesn't need his visor, even though his powers are back. But Emma puts the visor back on him now. I don't know if she's been holding it all this time. And we see that things are kind of back to normal. Wolverine and Armor are having a playful training session. Beast is in his lab teaching the students. But Peter now is just left all alone. And the last title is gone. So now I feel like I have to read past the Whedon issues and find out what happened to Kitty. I think Warren Ellis took over Astonishing X-Men, so they're probably pretty fun. Warren Ellis usually does something kind of interesting. Here's a cover gallery, and I think these are all the variant covers. This is a great one. I definitely wish I had that cover. That's nice. This one I was supposed to look up. I don't know who this is. It's not Cassady. Yeah, the signature is different. But, I don't know. Is it Jay Lee? I don't know. But it's pretty nice. Colors are by Isanove. And I know he works with Jay Lee a lot. But now the rest are Cassady. And, yeah, I guess I got that one. I kind of like when they do this. I mean, I'm an old man who just thinks the whole variant cover thing is so ridiculous. I just can't believe that's a thing. I'm baffled. But at the very least, they can give you all the variant covers. It kind of looks like Steve Aloha, doesn't it? And I don't know what this is from. Oh, this is, I assume, maybe they had a collection. That was the trade paperback cover. So there you go, guys. Astonishing X-Men, number 19 through 24, plus giant size Astonishing X-Men, number 1. So that brings to a close. I don't own many X-Men comics in my whole collection anymore. I have the classic X-Men, reprinting all of Claremont Burns stuff. I still have this total nostalgic fondness for that stuff. And maybe a few here and there. But, yeah, this is the first, like, long run in, I don't know, since the 80s where I was interested in the X-Men. And I'll probably check out those Warren Ellis ones if I ever see them cheap and see if they continue on this interesting path. I'm pretty sure John Cassady doesn't draw for those, so that was a major draw for me for these issues. But hope you guys like looking at them. Hope it wasn't too annoying doing 4 in a row. But I really just wanted to get them done. And thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.